The early 1970s in America was a time of change. The Vietnam War raged on. The civil rights movement was gaining momentum. And for women, access to safe and legal abortion was severely restricted. Laws varied from state to state, creating a patchwork of regulations. Many states outlawed abortion completely. Some allowed it only to save a woman's life. This meant that women facing unwanted pregnancies had limited options. Many were forced to carry their pregnancies to term, even if they were the result of rape or incest. Others sought out illegal abortions. These procedures were often unsafe and put women's lives at risk. The lack of access to safe abortion was a public health crisis. It disproportionately affected poor women and women of color. These women often lacked the resources to travel to states where abortion was legal. They faced dangerous choices and limited control over their own bodies. The legal landscape surrounding abortion was complex. There was no federal law protecting a woman's right to choose. The issue was left up to individual states. This led to a confusing and often unjust system. Women in some states had more rights than women in others. This disparity fueled the growing movement for reproductive rights. In the midst of this legal battleground, a young woman named Norma McCorvey found herself at the center of a case that would change American history. Living in Texas under the pseudonym Jane Roe, she became the lead plaintiff in a lawsuit against the state's restrictive abortion laws. McCorvey's story was not unique. She was a working-class woman facing her third pregnancy. She already had 2 children she was struggling to raise. Unable to afford another child and denied a legal abortion in Texas, she felt trapped. Her case, Roe v. Wade, challenged Texas law that criminalized abortion in almost all circumstances. McCorvey's lawyers argued that this law violated a woman's constitutional right to privacy. This right, though not explicitly mentioned in the Constitution, was interpreted from the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment guarantees equal protection under the law. McCorvey's lawyers argued that denying women access to safe abortion violated this right. Her case resonated with many women across America. They too felt that the government should not interfere in such a personal and life-altering decision. On January 22, 1973, the Supreme Court issued a landmark ruling in Roe v. Wade. In a 7-2 decision, the court struck down the Texas law. They declared that a woman's right to an abortion was protected by the Constitution. This decision sent shockwaves across the nation. It was a monumental victory for the reproductive rights movement. Writing for the majority, Justice Harry Blackmun argued that the right to privacy encompassed a woman's right to terminate her pregnancy. However, the court also recognized the state's interest in protecting potential life. They established a framework based on the trimester of pregnancy. During the first trimester, the decision to have an abortion was left solely between a woman and her doctor. In the second trimester, states could regulate abortion to protect the mother's health. In the third trimester, after fetal viability, states could regulate or even prohibit abortion to protect potential life, as long as exceptions were made for the woman's life or health. This framework attempted to balance a woman's right to choose with the state's interest in potential life. It became the law of the land, shaping abortion access for nearly 5 decades. The Roe v. Wade decision ignited a firestorm of controversy. Anti-abortion groups, fueled by religious and moral convictions, immediately condemned the ruling. They saw it as an attack on traditional values and the sanctity of life. This opposition was immediate and fierce. Protests erupted across the country. Anti-abortion activists vowed to overturn the decision. They began a long and strategic campaign to chip away at Roe's protections. Their tactics were multifaceted. They lobbied for restrictive state-level abortion laws, testing the boundaries of Roe's framework. They worked to appoint conservative judges who shared their views on abortion. They engaged in public campaigns, aiming to shift public opinion against abortion. Over time, these efforts began to erode the legal foundation of Roe v. Wade. In 2022, nearly 50 years after Roe, the Supreme Court overturned its landmark decision in the case of Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization. This ruling sent shockwaves across the country, marking a turning point in the fight for reproductive rights. The court's conservative majority, shaped by decades of anti-abortion activism and strategic judicial appointments, ruled that the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. They reversed Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood v. Casey, a 1992 case that had reaffirmed Roe's central holding. This decision had immediate and far-reaching consequences. It allowed states to regulate abortion without the constraints of Roe's trimester framework. Many states, particularly in the South and Midwest, had trigger laws in place. These laws, designed to take effect if Roe was overturned, immediately banned or severely restricted abortion. The legal landscape surrounding abortion was once again fractured. Access to this essential healthcare service became dependent on where a person lived. In the wake of the Dobbs decision, the battle over abortion has intensified. The legal landscape is in constant flux, with court challenges and legislative battles unfolding across the country. Access to abortion has become increasingly polarized, with stark differences between states that protect abortion rights and those that seek to restrict or ban it. This patchwork of laws creates confusion and fear for both patients and providers. Medication abortion, a safe and effective method using pills to end a pregnancy in its early stages, has become a focal point in the post-Roe era. Anti-abortion groups have targeted medication abortion with restrictive laws and misinformation campaigns. Despite its safety and efficacy, access to medication abortion is under threat in many states. This has disproportionately impacted people in rural areas and those with limited access to health care. Despite its overturning, the legacy of Roe v. Wade continues to shape the national conversation on abortion. The decision remains a touchstone for both sides of the debate, symbolizing the ongoing struggle for reproductive freedom. For many, Roe represents a time when women's rights were expanding, and the government recognized a woman's right to control her own body. The overturning of Roe is seen as a major setback for women's rights and a stark reminder of the fragility of progress. The fight for reproductive rights continues. Advocates are working tirelessly to challenge restrictive laws, expand access to abortion care, and ensure that everyone has the power to make decisions about their own bodies and futures. The overturning of the Jane Roe case has not silenced the voices calling for reproductive justice. If anything, it has amplified them, sparking a renewed wave of activism and a determination to fight for a future where everyone has the freedom to make their own reproductive choices. If this topic resonates with you, there's so much more to explore. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into pivotal moments in history. Together, we can keep these important conversations alive. Thank you for watching.